peace and darkness abundant. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Deity Princey. Let's get right into the video today.
Had to hop over fences and climb up the ladder to get what I want, bitch. I'm just getting better. They tried to tell me I would never be shit. Look at me now, body built like a brick. Sleep all you want, but I'm chasing my dreams. Everything I do is fucking supreme. Came from the hood, ain't shit sweet about me.
So today, you guys, I'm going to be doing a story time with you, explaining to you how I escaped my sociopathic and psychopathic egg and sperm donor. So, because I just recently had court again for my sperm donor, I'm going to start with him first. He is a sociopath. So not only is this going to be a story time, but this is going to be very beneficial with information for anyone else who may have this similar experience, so you can know that your experience is valid and you no longer have to be gaslit by society or even yourself. You have to trust yourself and trust that what you feel is true. Our spirit knows all. The ego is the one that wants to prove and say, oh, you have to be diagnosed. Listen, a trait. What is a personality trait? Personality traits are characteristics of a person. These characteristics stand out. So if you are a loving person, that stands out. If you are violent, that stands out. So let's get right into it. Now, my sperm donor is a sociopath, and he is one of my childhood molesters. Now, he has a high aggression, he lacks empathy, he has high impulsivity, and I've witnessed this through him abusing me and just the way he responded with other women that I watched him be around growing up. Now, he would have sex with me in a bed with other women. This was before he molested me. So when it came to him finding out about me being molested, now my egg donor is the psychopath. A psychopath is born, so remember that. Psychopaths are born, sociopaths are created. My sperm donor, he was very much assaulted as a child. So I know for a fact that because he was assaulted, so remember that being a sociopath, since it's created by the environment, and through nature versus nurture, all these different things come into play when it comes to being a sociopath. But because they're more so created, they start off with feeling empathy. They do feel that. So my sperm donor very much went between not caring and then having these outbursts of rage, impulsivity. I remember when I was younger, he would just randomly pop up at my egg donor's house, flashing court documents, making a spectacle. My sperm donor was always known for just making a spectacle of himself, and he was always very impulsive and erratic. He always showed impulsivity and erratic behaviors. So I'm going to show you guys when I had court in July. I just had court for him. He is denied parole again. He has been incarcerated for the past 8 years for molesting me and also molesting another family member. So he is denied parole again. And as you can see, this man lacks remorse for the offenses committed, and the nature of his crime, he's not able to actually analyze and understand what he did was wrong. So sociopaths lack empathy. And also I want to mention, before we had virtual court, 8 years ago when I had to go in person for his court hearing, which was like the most terrifying thing for me at that time. But when I was sitting in the courtroom, he came through the courtroom, he was chained and shackled. He had chains on his arms and on his legs. But side note, I do want to mention this. Within the Black community, it is starting to seem like all the Black people, not all, but it seems like they're trying to make Black people out to be the monsters, when we know that the slave masters started to rape and beat us, and we are the product of those slave children who had to watch these horrendous crimes, and this affected the psychological functioning of their brain. So we are products of this propagation of this horrible, horrendous behaviors and these acts. But who started it? The white people would do this to us. But now it seems like, Black people are just being painted as the aggressors. And I'm not taking from either. Both is wrong. But I would love to see white people be painted as such monsters as Black people are. Just wanted to say that. So yeah, when we was in court, you guys, he was chained, he was shackled, and again, they have erratic behavior. He started screaming, he started shouting, saying, "You're treating me like an animal, you're treating me like a dog." And all I heard the cop say was, "You are a dog, you are an animal." And honestly, because I was so young, I was always torn between both my egg and sperm donor. They always would put me up against each other. They were, teenage lovers. So it was very sick, sadistic energy between them both. They both would stab each other. They both would just do all kind of things to each other. So in that moment, in that courtroom, I was so stuck in between the two. Now, they have excessive risk taking. So when my sperm donor molested me, and like I said, they lack remorse, but because sociopaths are created, they still can revert back to shame and guilt. So the day after my sperm donor molested me, he began to hit his head on the wall. He began to say, "I'm so sorry." Like it was like something off of a movie. He was like going crazy. And then he mentioned to me how, a young woman is supposed to have children for her father. So it was very much creepy. So my sperm donor is the archetype of a sociopath, and I escaped through that because I was able to tell my story. He was very much afraid. Again, they act erratically. So before he found out about me confessing and me telling the truth, he tried to call and bribe me and say, "I will get you out of your egg donor's home." Because my whole life, I always wanted to leave her a presence, leave her home. And he was like, "Yeah, I will help you get emancipated. I will help you get a job. Like, just don't tell on me." So, and then he had like his father calling me, talking about money. So he didn't even think it through. Sociopaths don't plan, which leads into now psychopaths. Let's get into psychopaths. My egg donor, pure psychopath. She was born that way. But it also doesn't help if there's no positive reinforcement during childhood. My grandmother didn't really do much of a service in shaping my egg donor's characteristics and her traits. She was already, murdering animals at a very young age, at about 4 years old. So with this being said, when it came to me, now just to speed up a little bit, psychopaths have no conscience. They lack a moral compass. They don't care about destroying and hurting others. They are not attached to you. They lack an attachment bond to anyone. They are only in a relationship if it's conducive and beneficial for themselves. My egg donor always was into schemes and scams, but psychopaths sociopaths don't think. They just act erratically. A psychopath plans things out. My egg donor, right? She will work doubles and she would wait patiently to come home and literally terrorize and attack me. She will always physically attack me. She did sexually assault me when I was younger, and she would have other people do it as well. Before she got off work, she would plan it. She would call and taunt me and let me know that when she comes home, basically like my ass is grass. Basically, like now it's like I can actually look at it and just like, wow, like I'm not that person anymore. But then I was very much scared, and I would beg my grandmother, like, please don't leave me. But psychopaths just have a meanness to them. They're just fucking mean, like for no reason, bro. There is something called CU, callous, unemotional. They are callous and unemotional. They are mean and they don't have any attachment to how they make you feel. But again, they're very calculated. My egg donor not only would attack me when I got pregnant at 11 years old, she thought it was by my sister's father. So as I was coming up the steps, she planned it and calculated it and kicked me dead in my stomach as she planned to give me her own miscarriage, her own abortion. So it was very much calculated. To add on top of that, right, she knew that my sister's father was sexually assaulting me, but my baby was not by him. So she planned it out strategically to get the person that I was pregnant by arrested. He was a couple years older than me. I was 11, so I did, tell him I was 13 or 14, and he was 16. So she purposely executed this young man, and it broke my heart because I'm like, wow, my sister's father is just walking around freely, and she's just like, he ain't do nothing. I'm telling you, it's just, they're bitter. They're so fucking bitter. They are very premeditated. They're very premeditated. They're more likely to not have, if they are involved in crimes and schemes, they're going to plot it whereas though they won't get caught. Now, as I told you, I was molested by multiple people during my childhood. My sperm donor, as you can see from, the beginning of the video, he has been in prison for a very long time. My sister's father, he wrote a 4-page letter confessing, and he's also a narcissist as well. He wrote and before I go further, both sociopaths and psychopaths do have narcissism within them. But my sister's father wrote a 4-page letter confessing everything that he did to me. And my egg donor responded to his letter as if like, why would you do that to me? Like, I loved you. So they're very calculated and planned with what they do, because all these people went to jail. But my egg donor, see, she was messing around with cops, old white cops. That's what I'm saying. They're very smart. She figured out a way not to get prosecuted when everyone who was involved in my case, the DHS workers, everyone tried so hard to prosecute her. I'm telling y'all, she had got like this rich white lawyer, and it's because of the white cop. I can guarantee you that, because this is what else I wanted to say, and I'm gonna leave this video on this. Sociopaths and psychopaths are in all classes of society. I'm from the projects, so because they're very planned and calculated, all my egg donor has is this house, right? She's had this house for like her entire life, so she uses it as a pawn. She knows strategically how to manipulate the system. She's a fucking criminal, but she's a mastermind at what she do to a certain extent. She's not that smart. She's just smart enough for her not to have to go work. See, my sperm donor could never keep a job. Sociopaths can never keep a job. But because psychopaths are very planned and calculated, they will have a career for a very long time. They will have the same house, the same lover, whatever, for a very long time because they're planned with it. Sociopaths jump all around. They are like fringe dwellers. Psychopaths are not. So because she's very planned and callous and calculated with her movements, she has a very premeditated mind. This is why she's able to wiggle her way out of things. But she lives in her own pain and in her own insecurities. So she may have gotten out of the legal battle, even though, like I told y'all, both my sperm donor, both my sister's father, both went down for what they did to me. And also, that's the revenge for those other children that they did, because the cause and effect, what you put out will come back to you. And the way I escaped it was through the law of cause and effect. I began to pour into myself. I began to leave. Once my egg donor wanted to continue to, put me out and bring me back in, I said, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done. And I found out how to survive on my own. See, I come from a sociopath and a psychopath from the hood. Like I told you guys, it's sociopaths and psychopaths in the hood, in middle class and upper class. I'm from the projects. They didn't have any money. They don't have any money. My egg donor is literally in the same space, same environment, and that's where she will be, okay? On the welfare, on the child support, and my sperm donor was always jumping job to job. I was not taught financial stability, literacy. I wasn't taught these things. I was taught how to be a criminal. I was taught how to be erratic. I was taught how to manipulate the system, in a way that is beneficial for me, regardless of who I hurt and who I conquer. So the person that I am is because I chose to love myself. I chose to feel love within me. So that is how I escaped, by tapping into my own love as an empath. I was born an empath. So when you're born an empath, you have an advantage. You have an advantage to heal from the toxic traits that you are taught from your parents. So I hope this video was very helpful, so that way you can know what are some signs, and for you to know that you're not alone. You are looking at a thriver, not a survivor, not a victim, a victor and a thriver. And that can be you as well. I share my story with you so you can know that trauma is fucking real. The body keeps score, but you have the power to lift that energy up out those muscles, get that energy up out your womb, heal that heart chakra. You have the power, and that's period. And as I always tell you, stay rich, stay dangerous, peace, love, and light abundant, and I will see you soon. Deuces.
In my dreams, everything I do is fucking supreme. Came from the hood, ain't shit sweet about me.